This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for CareNotes for Caregivers with Doug Wilber. Welcome, Doug.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing great, considering that I'm still living in my house 90% of my life.
So, well, it's a good thing that you're living in your house with 90% of your life. You have the luxury of being able to do that, which is a
Right.
good thing. But it also means you're being careful, and that's actually what I want to talk about today. I really want to give people a little bit of an update on COVID and what's going on. Maybe give some warnings for folks, because I think that it's easy to get COVID fatigue. You know, we want it to be done with. We do. I mean, I am so tired of talking about it and stuff. And I know that most people are, and we just want to live normal lives, and that's a good yearning that we have, because we want to live good lives. We want to live normal lives. We want to go to restaurants. We want to do the things that we've always been able to do. And frankly, we sort of can, with some caveats, some restrictions that are important. And what I first would like to do, I guess, is talk a bit about some of the things that are going on as far as in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
We're located in Ohio. We service roughly 5 counties: Lake, Geauga, Eastern Cuyahoga, Northern Portage, and Northern Summit. Now, of those counties, 3 of the 5 are at level 3, and there's only 4 levels. And so level 3 is a pretty significant level for it, which is kind of like danger,
Right.
That there are problems and other things, and transmission is relatively high. The thing, I think, first and foremost we have to understand is that cases are beginning to creep back up. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that. The reasons that the numbers are going up, first and foremost, really comes from a little bit of that fatigue, because people are loosening up. They're not doing things as rigorously as they were before. And also because we're moving more indoors, and outdoors is safer than indoors.
Right.
So if you lived by a stream out in the woods, you wouldn't have much risk, okay, of this, of getting it, because it's, largely airborne or through air particles. But when you're out in the open, you have breeze and other things. But as we go inside and we start getting into our winter mode, the problem is that you start seeing a bump up, and we're seeing that. And so, so far in the state of Ohio, we've had about 188,000 cases. And there have been, unfortunately, 5,149 was the last numbers I saw, deaths in the state.
Sure.
A lot of those, a good percentage of those, are with older people and people with chronic conditions. And that's the population we serve. That's the population that our caregivers are dealing with. So we have to, I see what we do as a company as we're here to serve. We're here to help others and to care for others. And so with that privilege comes great responsibility. And the responsibility is that we have to exercise as much diligence and care that we possibly can and to prevent that vulnerable population from getting it. Now, I will say this: we've been really, really blessed as a company. We have not had, a lot of issues, and part of that's because we've been so darn conservative. We're not allowing, um, you know, um, people when they're sick to go in, because we want to
Sure.
protect our clients, and we want to protect the people that are our caregivers. Because if someone came in and there was another person in there that you're overlapping with, not only are you exposing that person, you're exposing the client.
Sure.
And so it can have a multiplying effect, because if you're then with several clients and then several people, and then it passes on, all of a sudden you have the possibility of a nightmare,
Right.
and um, no one wants to be the source of anyone's nightmare,
Absolutely.
and so um, but one of the things that's going on now is that they reported um, over 2,300 new cases in Ohio, and that's been recent. And there's been a bump up. There's been an additional 200 hospitalized people in recent weeks. As far as doing that, so understanding that that bump up is indicative of a problem. And I wish I could show you, but the graph, if you look at it, it kind of popped up a little bit in the spring, and then it's kind of been gradually rising. And then, you can see that it's at a pretty high level now. Um, and this is in a state that has done a good job at keeping things relatively
Absolutely.
contained. So the good news part of this is that there is a vaccine, or a series of vaccines that are are about ready to be introduced to the population. Now, you and I talked a little bit before the meeting. This is a miracle. I mean, this is a something that I just can't believe that I've seen in my lifetime. I worked in healthcare industry for a vaccine to come out within 6 months, and to have the rigorous testing and other things that they're doing, 6 to 9 months, whatever, is nothing short of miraculous. They had to have taken down dumb red tape for this to be
Sure.
able to happen. There are therapeutics that are out there that are about ready to be introduced that are also really good. But here's the point, and that is, we got to hold on. We got to hold the line until the cavalry comes.
Right.
Um, and um, and and the frontline workers, our employees, really have to be diligent to prevent being a source of spreading, and also working with families, so they're also not sources of
Sure.
spreading. So this is like a good news and a cautious news type of thing that I'm talking about. The good news is this vaccine, and I'm telling you, people should be taking this thing when it comes out. I know there is like a lot of fear about doing it. It's bunk, okay? I'm telling you, it is. The fear is dumb, and from a scientific standpoint, I think that what they're going to introduce will have gone through all the rigors and the vigorous testing that other vaccines have. So it will be, safe like, other vaccines, I
And I
believe.
and I think that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that stamp of approval, you know, from the
Yeah,
scientists, in knowing that there are numerous companies that are working on a vaccine,
yeah,
and getting close. like you said, that's a very promising, but what I hope people are listening to is that we still have to do everything else prior to,
Right.
because not all of us are going to get that vaccine day one.
Right, right. And that's what, the holding the line, using military terms, is we got to do the good work until the other pieces come into place. As we've talked about before, we know that this is largely something that's dangerous to people who are older or with chronic conditions. Okay, I know younger people that have gotten it, and again, there are always those exceptions we hear about, the horror stories, and that happens with the flu or other things. But the truth is that if you look at the death rate, it's happened largely in nursing homes. Okay, it's those people that were exposed, and then secondary older population, and then those with conditions like diabetes and other heart disease, other underlying things that definitely come to the fore and being what's caused some of the problems. But one thing that I've seen, DeWine, our governor, Mike DeWine, has said that they're going to prioritize certain groups at the beginning with these vaccines. And, so healthcare workers and first line responders are going to be at the front of the line for getting the vaccine. And then the next group that will also be, and I don't think it's going to be like they'll just give the frontline workers and then they'll do it.
Right.
I think they're going to be just saying these are our big priorities. But I know the second is the older patient population. So again, that's covering and protective of the people that we are really taking on as our charges, our responsibility. So those older Ohioans are going to get prioritized in this. But here's again where I want us to kind of hold the line, is we can't relax now, and so it means doing certain things in a really smart way, and especially for the next couple months. Okay, and I'm actually kind of begging people to do this. eh, you know, Saying this is the right thing, and there are certain times in your life where you not only do it because you're told to do it, but you do it because it's the right thing. Um, but the first thing is wear masks.
Absolutely.
And for masks to work, it really means that everyone should wear masks, because when I wear a mask, it protects the other person. When they wear the mask, it protects me.
Right.
And that's where sometimes people get confused, because, is that I wear a mask not for my protection, unless I wear, one of the N95 masks, and that actually does protect that individual.
Okay.
But if you're using a surgical mask, that's really to prevent particles to get transmitted to other people.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, so caregivers, we need to all wear masks, and I feel silly, I feel uncomfortable sometimes when I do it, but every time I go into a home, when I'm in the office around other people, you know I'm wearing that mask. I'm doing it because I'm trying to protect the other person. I may not feel bad, but we know this is one of those things where you cannot feel
Yep.
bad and
Right.
still be carrying it. So um, the second thing is socially distance. It still works. Keep 6 feet away from someone else when you can, and you know I think that um, keeping that space, we know, does protect, and so keep on doing it. It's And again, we're at the finish line in many ways. And not that we're not going to have residuals of this for a while, we will,
Sure.
but we really are at the finish line when it comes to what is going to be developed or has been developed and then being given or provided to people. And then so the social distance is still, to be emphasized. And then finally, avoid large groups wherever you can. I know it's really, really easy to say, well, it's that birthday party, and it's my nephew, and I want to do it, and I know it's my family, and I don't think they're going to be, you know, likely exposed, but I have heard enough near misses where someone has been at a birthday party and one of the kids, had a father that had, got this, and then all of a sudden it has a
Right.
multiplying effect, and then on top of everything else, there's the anxiety. Is someone been exposed or not? What is that considered? So and um, uh, so let's just be at that point where we say, okay, the time of gathering is coming soon, but right now it's still the time of caution, unless you can do stuff outside, again with social distancing and other things where there's a lot more safeguards or protection. But we're it's cold enough in the morning now and during the days that we don't have many of those 70-degree days left. I wish we did. you know
But
so,
we can always put on a hat and a scarf and gloves. Um,
mhm,
and it's something that many of us probably wouldn't have done a year ago. But
mhm.
today, take the opportunity, and find a way to enjoy the outdoors. Uh,
Right. Oh
and
yeah.
I know that we've been doing that because working from home and being so secluded, there are days that I don't care if it's cold, hot, rainy, snowy. I need to be outside and
Yeah.
take care of yourself. So,
Well, one of the things that they find is that vitamin D is one of the huge factors, and uh, in- with the studies that are being done, there really seems to be a strong link between higher levels of vitamin D and how likely you are to have bad effects of COVID, for even how devastating it can
yeah.
be if I understand things right with this. Um, but the group things is important because it is so difficult, because you want to live that normal life.
Right.
And there are things that are traditions that we've had for a long time. For example, every Christmas I have my extended family at my house. This year I'm not going to do it, and it breaks my heart because it's literally been since I was a kid that we have all met together as an extended family. And with all my siblings and now their kids. And so typically I have 50 or so people at my house on Christmas Day, and that's not going to happen this year. But it will happen again next year, the
Absolutely.
Lord willing, with that. And but I know that it's just not going to be possible for it. But I also know that I'm protecting a lot of people by making those decisions.
Well, and we had planned back in June, assuming that this was going to be ended by now or hoping it would be. Um, Most of my family now is living in upstate New York. And we said, we're going up there for Thanksgiving. And we planned and planned. And about 30 days ago, we made the decision, not this year, we'll
Right.
Zoom them. Um, but you know what? It's not fair for us to take any kind of germs with us up there or to get any of the germs that they might have. And a lot of us don't know if we're carriers, unless
Right.
we get tested. And I've asked my doctor, and he has said, if you don't have any symptoms, as long as nobody's gotten sick that you've been in contact with, there's no reason to be tested. So,
Mhm. Right. Yeah. I mean, the testing thing is, and here's the truth: you could be tested today, and have an exposure tomorrow, and so the kind of prophylactically testing or
yeah,
trying to do it is it doesn't make sense in most situations. And there are some times where it does make sense, but in most cases it doesn't. And for that reason, I think that we're doing the right thing by checking for symptoms and making sure that we limit our exposures and other things. I will say this because I've known a couple people that have gotten COVID, and the one thing they have said to me, okay, um, is that they were surprised at how contagious it was. That it is, their exposure was something that they would never have thought they would have gotten it from. And yet, there were, I'm thinking one instance where they were with a small group, and 70% of the people in that group ended up getting COVID. And they kind of thought they were safe because they were all friends and whatever. And I know of another instance that was very similar, and it happened to be an event that someone went to. It was in a different state in this case. Sure enough, a good percentage of the people that went to this event, ended up, having come down with COVID. And so, but just kind of to wrap things up, because um, you know I want to wrap up with the good news. The end is in sight in many ways. We will start seeing more and more light in the next few months as things are coming out, as far as the therapies and the
sure.
vaccines and stuff like that. So, it's just that idea of holding the line until the cavalry come. Do the right things now, and you'll forever be grateful, I think, that you did that. And hopefully we can kind of do our part in the state of Ohio in keeping those numbers down just in general, and not be a part of the statistical blip we're seeing right now. So that's kind of the encouraging part, is that it's literally mostly good news if we can kind of exercise patience and sort of intelligent discretion. So,
Well,
and that's it.
I
So,
I think it's a great message, and kudos to you and your team for, you know, going through this for many, many people. And when I say going through it, I know a couple of caregivers who gave up their positions because they were terrified of the virus. Um, but from what I've heard about Cherished Companions, your staff has been there and working right along with all your
oh
clients.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
to me is important.
And it's one thing. Bravery is an interesting thing, that because our caregivers walk through this thing now with the information. I think people have a much better idea. But when it was early on in this, it took a lot of guts and bravery to say,
Right.
look, people need me, and I'm not going to just not show up because people need me. So, I, truly, our caregivers, looked at that and they said, I'm going to do the right thing. And you've seen that through history. I mean, you look at different epidemics and things that have happened, the doctors, the nurses, the aides, the folks that continued coming and doing work has always been a mark of healthcare. It's always been a mark of people that are those special people. And yeah, we had so few people drop out because I really believe, and part of it is our hiring process.
Absolutely.
We really look for people that do this because this is their calling. And when you see this as your God-given calling, and you see this as something that you do, the way people have stepped up is remarkable. And again, it's not necessarily bravery when you know what things are. And the bravery part comes in that early stages, especially um, when we didn't know. We
Right.
didn't know how risky this was. We didn't know that. All we knew is that there was something really terrible that was happening, and so yeah, our caregivers are truly amazing people.
Well, that's
So
wonderful. Well,
yeah.
thank you for the light at the end of the tunnel that sort of, gives us hope, gives us another reason to keep wearing our masks, washing our hands, and that social distancing. So,
Right, exactly. Yeah. Actually, thank you for bringing up the washing the hands. That was something that I meant to say as well, because those things are, are critical factors, all of those things. So you take care, and thanks for hearing the good news, I guess.
absolutely. Have a great
Thanks.
day, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.